Hello Year 10, welcome to your last lesson on coasts. Today you'll need a pen, paper, pencil and your fact book. And today's lesson is all about the impacts of climate change on our coastline. Your first activity is our quickfire round, so pause your video here, study the 5 questions on the screen, which are a mixture from lessons 1, 2, 3 and 4. Have a go at all of them and good luck. When extremes of weather occur and climates start to change, this can create major problems for people. Geographers, meteorologists, glaciologists and scientists have been collecting evidence that suggests the world's climate is changing, possibly threatening the future of this planet. And this is called climate change. This is a complex and controversial issue. Different people have different and at times opposing views about what it is and its possible causes and consequences. Pause the video here and make a copy of the 3 definitions that are on the screen or write your own. There are consequences of climate change for the UK. Rising sea levels will have a significant impact on the country. In 2018, the Environment Agency warned the population that flooding will only get worse with climate change, as they published new guidance on how to cope with flooding in 2018. The UK government has assessed the risk of climate change back in 2017 in order to plan for the UK's future. And as part of this risk assessment, they considered flooding and coastal change to communities, businesses and infrastructure to be of a high risk. Sir James Bevan, who was the Chief Executive of the Environment Agency, said that climate change is likely to mean more frequent and intense flooding. Floods destroy lives, livelihoods and property. Our flood defences reduce the risk of flooding, and our flood warnings help keep communities safe when it threatens. But we can never entirely eliminate the risk of flooding. This is why we've launched guidance on flooding, so that people can check flood risk, which is the first step to protecting themselves, loved ones and their homes. Severe water shortages are expected as the summers get drier and by 2050 will extend across the UK. But also flooding will increase, and this already costs about £1 billion of damage every year. And the risks will rise further as climate change leads to more intense rainfall, which brings floods to places that currently are not really in danger. The number of households at significant risk will more than double to 1.9 million by 2050. The rise in world sea levels will mean an increase in sea level exceeding 1 metre and possibly as much as 2 metres on the UK coast by 2080. This, plus the increase in intense storm events, will cause greater coastal erosion. Low-lying and soft sediment coastlines will be more at risk. The 5 most vulnerable coastlines are South Wales, North West Scotland, Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, East Anglia and the Thames Estuary. By 2030, it is estimated that 950 million people around the world will live in the low elevation coastal zone. That is coastal areas that are less than 10 metres above sea level. Climate change presents a triple threat to people in these areas. First, sea level rise increases the risk of coastal flooding at high tide. Second, heavier rainfall increases the risk of flash floods in urban areas with poor drainage. And thirdly, more violent storms and hurricanes increase the risk of coastal erosion and storm surges. The worst affected coastal communities could be those living on the world's major river deltas. So millions of people live on deltas in Bangladesh, Egypt, Nigeria, Vietnam and Cambodia. In 2013, the World Bank identified 136 coastal cities that are at greatest risk. Mumbai, home to 18.4 million people, is one, but also other cities like New York, Singapore and New Orleans. Many of the cities identified by the World Bank are in developing countries where the poorest members of society are most at risk. This is because the poorest neighbourhoods are often in low-lying areas and built alongside waterways or seafronts that are vulnerable to flooding. As sea levels rise, some people may have to leave their homes and they will become environmental refugees. The Republic of Maldives in the Indian Ocean is made up of 1,190 islands. It has a population of 350,000. Most of the islands are uninhabited, with over 1/3 of the population living in Male, the capital city. 80% of the land area is under 1 metre above sea level. Nowhere is above 3 metres. The map here, to the bottom right-hand corner, is the small island developing states, and this includes the Maldives in the Indian Ocean. See if you can pause the video here and give reasons why people living in these small island developing states are vulnerable to coastal erosion. So in the previous slide, we were introduced to the small island developing states such as the Maldives. Frequent flooding of the islands over the past 30 years has caused ongoing problems. Most of the problems occur when the highest spring tides coincide with storms in the Indian Ocean. For more than 3 decades, politicians from the country have tried to persuade world leaders to take climate change more seriously. In 2015, the Geneva Climate Change Conference, the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Maldives asked the global community to take concrete action. He said that 2015 should be remembered, not for stories about sea level rise, but ones about how we rose up together to stop it. The fact is, it's probably already too late. Two strategies that are being put forward, 2 possible solutions. Islands that float. Floating islands will be moored to the seabed using cables to minimise environmental impact. The idea has been put forward by a Dutch company. They could have multi-use. One of the islands could be used to create an artificial golf course, and golfers could access the floating Golf Island by a tunnel under the seabed. There will be a spectacular underwater clubhouse for golfers to relax in after their game, and the artificial islands will be built in India or the Middle East and towed to the Maldives. An alternative, castaways to Australia. The Maldivian president said his government were considering Australia as a possible new home if the Maldives disappear beneath rising sea levels. He explained that Maldivians wanted to stay, but moving was an eventuality his government had to plan for. Australia may need to prepare for a mass wave of climate refugees seeking a new place to live. Pause the video here. See if you can maybe list 5 different ideas for action and try to place your ideas in priority. Or have a look at the 2 solutions that are on the screen. How sustainable are they? And which is most likely to be an actual reality? Well done, Year 10. You have reached the end of our last lesson on coasts. What we would like you to do is make sure that you have gone back over all 5 lessons, pausing wherever you need to, asking questions of your teachers and your mentors wherever you need to, and making sure that you have learnt all of the facts that we have provided in your fact booklet. We really look forward to seeing you when you return, and take care.